Ellen, thank you for meeting with us today. Can we talk a little bit about the history of IRC and how it was founded and its purpose?
Yeah, the International Rescue Committee was founded in 1933. That was the year that Hitler came to power in Germany, and immediately, within months of his becoming the leader there started to be persecution against specific groups who had specific ethnic persuasions and political persuasions. And Albert Einstein, who himself was a refugee, was in New Jersey and saw the need to create a committee to help people be able to flee and find a new life here in the U.S. So he organized with several pretty illustrious people in New York City to create a committee to create opportunity for safe haven here in the U.S. for people that were fleeing fascism in Europe in the 30s. And unfortunately, for the now 76 years that have followed since then, there's been no ceasing worldwide of people needing safe haven because they're fleeing war and persecution. So the International Rescue Committee initially was created to help people enter the U.S., and that's still what we do here in Atlanta. But meanwhile, the organization works worldwide in a number of places where there's conflict and refugee camps all around the world where there are crises of people fleeing war, fleeing serious ethnic cleansing, genocide, war and persecution. International Rescue Committee opened up an office here in Atlanta to provide people an opportunity to start new lives here. So at that time, they were primarily from Vietnam and Laos, and that continued through the 80s, but also people fleeing at that time the former Soviet Union and many of the Eastern Bloc countries. Back then it was behind the Iron Curtain. It was still intact until the end of that decade. And so offering opportunity to rebuild lives here, people fleeing that sort of persecution. And now it's been 30 years. We've resettled people. We've resettled over 19,000 people into the Atlanta area from 45 countries. And as the years have gone by, the conflicts have changed. We resettled people from Bosnia and Kosovo in the 90s, the people from Sudan, Somalia, the Congo, and currently people fleeing the war in Iraq, and people fleeing the regime in Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. There are conflicts and rogue regimes and persecution that every year displace people who need an opportunity to start a new life. And that's what we do here in Atlanta. We help people build their new lives.
And I believe you were saying that the number of refugees that you're resettling is up over 1,000 now, which is
Yes.
more than double what it was 2 years ago.
That's right.
Could you talk a little bit about why the numbers are going up?
Well, we resettle people in cooperative agreement with the U.S. State Department. Everyone who enters the United States on the refugee status, who are the people we work with primarily, is invited in by the State Department, and it's a matter of public policy. The State Department proposes a number of people to come, and specifically where they need to come from for very compelling reasons. And they set a goal which is then passed through the Congress and signed off on by our president. And this 2 years ago, and for the 5 or 6 years prior, the U.S. was resettling in the whole country, about 50,000 people. And this year, it's going to come close to 80,000. So it has increased, significantly nationwide. And then in Atlanta, even a greater increase because we are capable of resettling new groups, and the large groups who are coming are new groups. So those who are coming from Burma, there weren't many Burmese here at all 2 years ago. The same with the Nepali Bhutanese that we're resettling, and also Iraqis. These are relatively new groups, not ones that have a history like the Vietnamese or the Somalis. And so we are, our environment here in Atlanta is very flexible for incorporating people from all sorts of ethnicities quickly, and we have a strength in the most challenging new groups. So our numbers have gone up even more because of some of the special nature of our location here.
Could you talk a little bit about the checklist of things that you try to provide for the refugees when they get here? Is the first thing an apartment and then a job and then a car?
Yeah, where our goal is everyone is to see them to reach self-sufficiency so that they are living independently on their own earned income. And this is the goal of the public policy and the International Rescue Committee's goal. And so to do that, they need to build skills, and they also need a certain amount of help. So what we do is first, yes, for everyone, we go out, we pick them up at the airport when they arrive. We're notified by the State Department when they'll arrive. We have accepted their case. We know they're coming, and so we set up an apartment that is very sparsely furnished, but with the basic needs. It's a pretty minimal outfitting, just enough to be able to get your meals and sleep well. No frills. Then we begin to get them properly documented. They come in legally. They have the right to work as soon as they're here. The idea is for them to have permanent resettlement to the U.S., but they still need to go through steps to get some very basic things like a Social Security card. We work with that. We help them get their Georgia ID, which gives them identity card here. We get the children enrolled in schools. We help them. They go through a medical screening. They've been screened overseas before they come for any type of communicable illnesses. They won't come until they're clear of that, but then they come here and they also go through a series of immunizations, and so we take them through that. And that's the initial stages. We help them also get oriented to understand how to go from their apartment to the grocery store, how to ride a bus or a train, to be able to move around, to come to their English classes, or to go to the library, help them get oriented to the town, how to use things like our currency here, and how to understand the pricing system, these kind of things. We've traditionally maintained over many, many years, at 6 months after arrival, 95% of our families are self-sufficient, which means they're not receiving any kind of help from us or from public cash assistance.
So the goal is to get the first 6 months?
To get the first, and we're used to seeing that happen about after 4 to 5 months even, until 2009 and the recession, and it has indeed impacted that which has been a very critical outcome indicator for us, and that one we've held proud for so long, and that everyone who comes is aiming for that. What the refugees most want is to be on their own 2 feet and go back to what they knew before, which was taking care of themselves and their families.